Oh, we're live. What's happening, everybody? I was going to get a drink before we go live, but I'll get a drink now that we are live. Good.
Take a drink. Take a drink, Doug, and I'll tell them it is the Two Bro Wrestling Show, as if you couldn't tell by Doug's surprise. And almost a spit take.
Almost. Wait a minute here.
Doug, okay. It is not night. It is not morning. It is night. It is Sunday. We are back after being off last week because of Wrestle Dream. And tonight's main event topic, for those tuning in here after the news, Doug, we're going to talk about the Pizza Hut commercial that WWE aired last night that happened to have 5 matches included in
it. It was an epic commercial. Let me say that.
Oh, yeah. But Fastlane is our main event topic tonight. But before we get there,
news time.
We got to do an opening bell. Doug, we're going to open with the big stories, I guess we could say this week, are the various passings in the nights of talent going separate directions between companies. Let's start with the one that is not official, but is the most shocking, and that is CM Punk. Yes, that CM Punk, apparently in discussions with WWE. What was once just a rumor is now more, with Wrestling Observer, among other outlets, confirming the two sides are not only in discussion, but all WWE will say is that there is no deal in place. But apparently Punk, surprisingly, is really interested in returning to WWE. Doug, I don't know what you make of that, but considering all the bridges that he burned there, the fact that Punk actually apparently desires one last run in WWE is the most shocking part of this story to me.
Well, as we learned from Cody, you can go from undesirable to undeniable if you have spent any time with Tony Khan and can make AEW look bad, regardless of how bad it makes you look by bringing them in. And I think, that's the Punk angle here. It's not necessarily that, anybody would have given a Punk a second thought, to bring back to the company. But now that he can, do the Cody Rhodes thing, do the Jade Cargill thing, do what will presumably be the Ricky Starks thing eventually, they're going to make a big deal about Punk and bring him back if they can.
I'll leave it to Doug to quote his mentor, Cody Rhodes. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there is no such thing as never. And if it means business, the bridges that Punk burned in the past were not with TKO Holdings or Endeavor. I mean, in some ways, it is a different world there now. So who knows? Despite being fired, though, from AEW back on September 2nd, Punk was the company's highest merchandise seller in all of AEW for the month of September. So again, you're looking at dollar signs. That is exactly why, if this happens, that WWE would do that deal, is money.
It's all about money.
It's all about money.
All about money. And, sticking it to the other guy. Can't forget.
And more definitive news, sticking it to the other guy, Edge is All Elite. His first appearance.
Adam Copeland is All Elite.
Adam Copeland. He just lives on the edge.
Right, and it keeps us all on the edge of our seats.
Worst kept secret in wrestling. Well, I guess at least since AEW debuted CM Punk, even though I do believe this one is well more likely to end better. But here is what we know. As Doug says, he is going to go by his real name, Adam Copeland. As Edge, of course, is WWE copyright. He will still use the name Rated R Superstar because, surprisingly, that isn't under WWE control. Also not under WWE control is Edge's theme song, which he brought with him. Apparently, he's good friends with the band Alter Bridge that does the song, and they basically gave carte blanche to Adam to use it from here on out, no matter where he goes.
Yeah, it is a different version, though, isn't it? It certainly sounds like it. It's not the WWE recording. It sounds like it was re-recorded,
and they even have the same recording.
And they even have a different tag at the beginning because it's gone from "You think you know me" to "You think you know him."
The tag is different. The song is the same. I think you know me voice is song, now You think you know him. And it's voiced by Adam's wife, none other than WWE Hall of Famer, Beth Phoenix.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Now Adam is full time with AEW, and I guess the reason I'm pointing that out is that he was a special attraction in WWE, and now that he is all elite, and you know have the ability to hear him talk about that transition in various interviews, you'll realize that a theme that keeps appearing is Adam apparently didn't care for the part-timer schedule. He's mentioned it in multiple post-return interviews, so it appears to be something that he wanted, and that was a full-time schedule, and something that he obviously preferred because now he is full-time with AEW, and he makes a big deal out of the fact he's going to be on Collision, he's going to be on Dynamite. Heck, he might even showed up on Dark if it was still a thing.
I think he would have showed up on Dark if it were still a thing.
One thing he did mention often in these interviews I want to talk about, Doug, is more than one occasion he used the word to describe the feeling of being in AEW as free.
Yeah. A
What
lot
do
of
you make
that.
of that?
A lot of free talk there. A lot of free talk. I think somebody at that level where they get a Legends contract or a part-timer contract in WWE at this point in their careers, and they're brought in, like you said, he's a special attraction. He's not going to have that freedom that say a Brock Lesnar has, but I think he's got some stroke backstage to kind of call what's going on. But there's still some chains on him. You bring somebody like that, like CM Punk, or like Christian, even yeah, any of the top tier guys that have jumped ship, we got Brian Danielson, running Collision. Yeah, I think they are free. They get to do what they really want to do and are allowed to do that. And because it's good for business as far as Tony Khan seems to be concerned, let's let these guys who have this knowledge and want to do it, let's let them do it.
Well, that might be a good transition to the next story because this is someone who will talk about her interviews that she has given since going. Definitely on the other end of the experience scale, and that is one Jade Cargill. Also, not a surprise, just like Adam, it's been rumored for a while, pretty much been in Jade's sphere of news ever since she lost that TBS championship back in AEW. WWE has made a big point of touting the signing of Jade with multiple stories throughout the week on their programming. She made an appearance last night on Fastlane. These are the kind of introductions that the E rarely does. They have not given an indication really as when she will start, but it's clear just from the way that they are promoting her already that they see this as a big free agent signing, and they will therefore have big plans for her as well. Just like the interesting Adam Copeland interviews, though, Jade's quotes include the chance for us to, quote, get it right this time, which is something that WWE wasted no time in pulling out as a tagline and putting real big in their recap of the news coverage. Doug, let's discuss that little bit of an AEW dig. If Edge is free because maybe he wasn't given the reins to do exactly what he wanted to do in WWE, does it sound like Jade Cargill feels the opposite as a young talent, that she was too fenced in and wasn't allowed to be all she could be in AEW?
I think she certainly thinks that. I don't know of any other female that's had a like Goldberg-esque run like that though. I mean, maybe by getting a chance to get it right, she can go in and compete against top tier talent. Because did she ever go up against Britt Baker? Did she ever go up against the AEW like top tier women's division? No, she didn't. But that mid card, which she came in green as these lights behind me, and worked her way through it. I mean, she has a great look, and she she will go places.
Yeah.
Absolutely, she's gotten so much better. But I think there's something to be said for paying your dues, but if she wants to jump ship and which I think she will do great in WWE because
Oh yeah.
again, she has an amazing look. I want to see her show up on Monday night and crush both Raquel Rodriguez and Nia Jax and just establish herself as the dominant female on Monday nights.
It's
That is
hard to say
my
when
hope
she'll
for her.
actually get in the ring, but her first appearance officially last night, she walked out of the car and looked like a star immediately. Like she immediately had this presence about her where you wanted to know, hey, what's this about? That lady looks fantastic. Like she looks like she could go through the biggest names that WWE has
Absolutely.
and just mow through them. So we'll see if they build off Tony Khan's booking by starting a Goldberg-ish streak on their own. If I had to guess, though, unlike Tony, who doesn't really have a developmental system, and so much of what Jade did learn, and she was very much improved, was on the go. It wouldn't surprise me a bit if they put off WWE in-ring appearance until we get some work in at the Performance Center just to polish her up a little bit.
Yeah, because I think the caliber that they want to push her into is wrestling at a different level than she may be ready for. But
yeah,
she's got the look. She can talk the talk. Is she going to be in the ring with Charlotte Flair in the next couple of weeks? No, but I do want to see her crush Nia Jax. So, I want to believe.
I think Doug would say that for anybody if they would please.
I want to see Cody Rhodes crush Nia Jax, but I want to believe in my heart of hearts Nia Jax has been brought back for one reason and one reason only, and that is to totally put over Jade Cargill.
So that now that we know who all is appearing and who all is on what show, let me give you a couple names who will not be on TV for a little bit. And apparently that is Julia Hart and Lee Johnson, reportedly set for some time off from AEW and Ring of Honor, respectively, in the near future. This, of course, coming kind of in bad timing, but it's because it's on the heels of what is inarguably, in my opinion, Julia's highest profile and best match to date, which was the match she had with Chris Statlander at last week's Wrestle Dream. But Hart and Johnson are fiancés, and they are prepped for some time off for their wedding and honeymoon. So congratulations and good luck to them both. I guess we'll see them back on air whenever they're back from, I'm going to say, Universal Studios. Is that where AEW stars go there in Orlando? I don't know.
I think so.
We're going to end on some. We're going to end our news segment on programming notes. The biggest of this, and this would be the top story had it not been for all the coming and goings, but confirmation of something that we had reported on a few shows back, and that is that AEW programming has a new digital home beginning in 2024. The relationship between Tony Khan and business daddy Warner Brothers Discovery has gotten stronger because AEW is headed to Max. That is right. This means Bleacher Report Live and those $59.99 price tags on those pay-per-views will soon be a thing of the past, much like the Peacock model with WWE. Those pay-per-views are moving over to a streaming platform. Doesn't mean, I think that it looks like that might be at a higher tier than just your normal HBO Max. You might have to buy the sports package. That's still to be determined. We don't know the financial specifics yet. The price point for what it's going to be for the pay-per-views, if they are, in fact, as part of that sports tier. We don't even know what other programming may be part of this. My hope, fingers crossed, Ring of Honor, please get the Ring of Honor show on Max so we can see it without yet a separate subscription. But we're going to obviously keep following this and have much, much more as those details are known. MLW will not be returning to Reels for a second season. This is one we could have probably seen coming too. They debuted their MLW Underground on the fast rising Reels network with much fanfare. At the time, both sides seemed very open to a season 2. However, MLW's fortunes turned when Reels became a live channel on Peacock. Of course, Peacock, the home of WWE, has a agreement with WWE that no other wrestling can be on the streaming platform, which means MLW suddenly was blocked out for anybody who was trying to watch on Peacock. That was sort of the writing on the wall that this was probably not going to be a long-term relationship. It was not. You can still catch MLW's Fusion for free on a variety of platforms, YouTube included. So definitely be checking them out, and we'll see what percolates for them elsewhere. And then the last bit of news, Doug, it is regarding Tony Khan's birthday. I know it's marked on your calendar.
It is.
It's Title Tuesday, right?
Yes. No, it's his birthday, Kevin. That just happens to fall on Title Tuesday.
AEW's getting bumped this week because of baseball. Go Dodgers. And so we're going to be on Tuesday night, and that will mean a rekindling, even if ever so briefly, of the Wednesday Night War which was pretty handily won by AEW. But NXT this week, they saw a 35% jump in ratings on the heels of an excellent No Mercy event and featuring main roster stars Becky Lynch and Dirty Dom. So that's a continuation of a strong trend they have been seeing with strong ratings since they started having these crossovers with the main roster.
And did I hear something? Oh, there's a young up and comer who dabbles in movies who may be on NXT this Tuesday. Kevin, is that right? I think he had like a Max show recently too. With what is that kid's name? I think he might go places.
I think you and I are actually going to be on Title 2 or on NXT on Tuesday night. They are stacking this card. Both sides are. On the AEW side, you're getting Adam Copeland's in-ring debut, in addition to a lot of title matches and almost a pay-per-view quality show. As you're saying, Doug, on the other side, it's not just John Cena. It's Asuka. It's Paul Heyman. It's Cody Rhodes. And very likely The Undertaker. Last night during Fastlane, they did a preview of NXT, and they ended it with a gong. And it was already rumored that The Undertaker was in town, which he often, provides some knowledge to the folks down at the Performance Center. But they're bringing back John Cena and The Undertaker. So even if it is one night, even if it means absolutely nothing, because let's face it, this isn't the Monday Night Wars. Everyone watches,
Right.
DVR, streaming, whatever. We'll watch them both, but it's still kind of fun, right? To see them try to outdo each other.
It really is. I mean, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan. I mean,
I wish it was on opposite each other every week if they went to these lengths every week, right?
I mean, there doesn't need to be all this tribalism. I mean, we should just sit back and enjoy these shows and all these performers.
So definitely set those Cody. DVRs and watch
and Nia Jax. Beyond that,
and with that, Doug.
yes, Kevin.
Let's talk more Cody Rhodes. What do you say?
Damn it. Okay, let's do it.
Tonight, our main event topic is Fastlane, the most recent premium live event by WWE last night. Doug, for those who might want to know about the show without knowing who won and lost, let's talk just the show in general, and then we'll get into match by match and some spoilers.
All right, I'm trying to bring my notes. Got my notes. Okay, let me see if I can set them there. My old man eyes can see that far away. Okay, I'm ready. Yes.
To me, this was the definition of a skippable pay-per-view. Probably absolutely the worst effort that WWE has had this year, because honestly, they have been really strong for most of this year creatively. And, kudos to Triple H and his team for making that happen. But this was not one of their better efforts. If you have 3 hours, it's not like it's going to offend you. There's some good stuff on there we'll talk about. But if you missed it, I mean, you're not missed a whole lot in my mind.
That's just it. It wasn't an offensive pay-per-view any means, but it was, premium live event. It was just
skippable.
I mean, for 3 hours, there I don't think there was 3 hours of wrestling on this program either. It was a 3 hour show, sure. 3 hours of wrestling, not so much.
If you want 3 hours and have it, feel free, watch. If you're compressed on time, watch the opening match for storyline developments, watch the closing match because it was the best match on the card.
Yep.
Everything else was definitely skippable. Doug, with that, you want to talk match by match?
Let's talk match by match.
Spoiler time. We start off.
My notes are backwards. Hold on. I got to go to the bottom on my page. Okay. Nope. Okay. Yes.
We start off with Doug's favorite, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso challenging for the tag team championships held by the Judgment Day. Doug, if Jey Uso is supposed to be a Raw talent, why does he look like a SmackDown billboard?
Dude, that's exactly what I was thinking. That is way too much blue for you to be a Raw star now. You
main event, and it looks like the font. Even it looks like the font of SmackDown.
It does. I love it. It looks like, because he totally does. He just needs the big fist coming out of his chest and go old school.
And to your point earlier about how much wrestling was actually contained in this Pizza Hut commercial, it was. I made some notes as we went along. The opening bell for the first match rang at 15 minutes into the pay-per-view. So 15 minutes of nothing before this match began. It started off even slow after those long intros. And so it was obvious from the start that, yeah, there's only 5 announced matches. And that's something we should have maybe mentioned at the beginning, Doug. When we did our preview show 2 weeks ago, we didn't know but one match, right? Or was there even that match? There was the presumed match with the main event. So they definitely did not put a lot of thought and time. And I know they've been busy. The merger happened in this time. There was a lot that you could say was distracting, but they only ended up with 5. It's probably better than trying to do the AEW thing and have, 50 matches on your show. But at the same time, none of these matches had much of a build to them. So it's obvious that they were stretching it out.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I had this in my notes. About midway through the opening match, I was already over that car sound effect that they kept using for replays. Like they kept really irritating me by night's end.
Yeah.
Naturally, you're going to get Rhea and Dom come out. There was it was impressive when Damian went for that hurricanrana from the top rope, but it legit looked like maybe a guy his size shouldn't try that too often.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it was kayfabe with the knee thing, but for real, there looked like, that's a good way to dislocate those kneecaps, but still impressive for a big guy to do. JD McDonough gets involved. His interference backfires, causing the pinfall. Obviously keeps that tension within the Judgment Day going, that tension between JD and Priest. Doug, what do you think of a makeshift tag team like Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso being your tag champs?
I think it's stupid. I don't like makeshift tag teams. Let's push 2 guys together and call them a tag team. Jey Uso was in a tag team that had those belts for like 1,000 years.
I didn't know that.
Sammy and KO fought, tooth and nail to, take those away. Then Cody, I just think it's stupid. First of all, I think the good things about this though, were the way it sets up, because you have to not only you're protecting Seth Rollins, but you also have to protect Damian Priest at this point, because if Priest does not come in and try and cash in a last man's at the end of a last man standing. This is how hyped up I am about tag teams smushed together. It gets me all
calm down.
But you had to protect Priest as much as you had to protect Rollins. We can talk about the winner of that when we get there, but you have to start setting that up early on and just kind of dispel that. He can't do it, he shouldn't do it, and we're going to set out some logical reasons why. Because again, if he does not try and cash in on a last man standing where he's going to be beat down, and you're guaranteed, unless you're like Baron Corbin, to get that cash in and win, you have to do something. And I think that's what they did here. I think we're going to see a future storyline where we'll see, KO and Sammy, whether it be friendly or maybe not so friendly, go after Jay and Cody before we get some nice, CM Punk territory, Survivor Series stuff all together in Chicago. But
this is definitely a placeholder, because this is not a long-term. This is something for Cody to do until the inevitable happens for Cody to win that major title. But it's weird that they would bother to break up the Usos and make a big deal about bringing main event Jey Uso over. It's in his freaking theme song. It's just me, Us. I'm like, well, it was for like a week, and now it's you and Cody.
It's you and Cody.
And you're the tag team champions.
And take off your SmackDown stuff. Come on, dude. You're Raw now.
I mean, from a storyline perspective, they can have some fun out of this, but I'm not in general a fan of single stars being mushed together, because it's obvious that this is not meant to be a long-term thing. It probably is meant to be, though, a further nail being driven into that Judgment Day coffin.
Mm.
I don't know if it's the fact that Damian Priest is going to be a big breakout star and JD McDonough moves in and takes his place,
Right.
or if the Judgment Day is ultimately just going to break up altogether, because it's obvious Rhea Ripley is destined to be a huge star.
Absolutely.
She's done so much for her stock with this Judgment Day gimmick. It's been wonders for her. But if they broke her off or just her and Dom off, that would probably work too. But definitely this one's one to see for the storyline purposes of where it's going to go from there. One of the more intriguing, whether we like it or not, the outcome, but one of the more intriguing and surprising results on a night that was actually a little bit lacking in that regard.
And really, it's like any other bloodline related storyline. So the majority of the time, even though this wasn't really bloodline related, but you got main event, solo star Jey Uso in there. I mean, it is sort of a bloodline storyline because the story is almost as important, if not more important, because they're pushing something forward to something else and taking care of a couple storylines. Because I really do think that a lot of this had to be built around that main event and to extract Priest from it, so he doesn't look like a complete fool for not trying to cash in.
Yeah. Next match, Doug. We had a lot of multi-person matches, and I think a lot of that is because trying to get a lot of folks on a card that didn't have much in the way of build or matches. With this one, we had the new heel tandem of Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits against Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, and Mystery Partner. So the whole tease of this is, who is that mystery partner for the LWO going to be? Doug, second bell of the night, 8:50. 50 minutes into the pay-per-view is when we got the bell for our second contest of the evening. It started as a handicap match. I am not a fan of why, if you make a call, can't the guy get there on time? Why must it always be when you're the faces, the guy is late and he shows up?
Kevin showing up on time is not cool, okay? It's just not cool.
Were you surprised by Carlito, or were you more surprised by the reaction that Carlito got when he was the...
What I was really surprised by was that terrible entrance music Carlito has now. I mean, he used to have like kind of a cool song. Now it sounds like some Royal Caribbean commercials coming on or something. That was terrible.
But the man looked great. Carlito himself,
he really looked
good.
He
looked great.
He
actually looked good in the ring. He showed up, and then within 2 minutes of him showing up, the match was over, and the faces go over on this one. Carlito getting a pin. The couple things to unpack from this one. First, the way the announcers sold it wasn't like it was a one-time appearance. It was a lot of, it's great to have Carlito back. It's good to see Carlito back. So I guess follow up this week. We'll see. But apparently there's a chance Carlito is back on the main roster, and it's been what, 10 years or more that he...
I was watching some wrestling shows today, and apparently Carlito's been signed since the Puerto Rico show, I believe. He's just never been active on TV. So maybe that look he's really perfected now has been, he's been a long time at the Performance Center getting back into WWE shape and back into the swing of things there, because that was, earlier this summer, the Puerto Rico show.
Seems like forever ago now.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, I have no hate for Carlito being
back.
Yeah. I think that with the rebooted version of the LWO, been kind of fun. He slots in there well. I am really surprised though that the fan reaction was as overwhelmingly positive as it was. I wasn't sure how many of us there were out there that were around for Carlito's first run enough to remember him this go around or care that he was back. So good for him.
Absolutely.
What I'm maybe less excited about is if you have a new alliance and a alliance that has the kind of potential that a Street Profits Bobby Lashley alliance would have, maybe don't have your new heel team job out in their first high profile match.
Yeah, but I think this is a storyline thing. It's almost like they've taken some knowledge that they have acquired over how well they've done with bloodline things, and this new hurt business or whatever it's going to be called. This is a teachable moment for them because you still got these street profits that are slightly goofy, not necessarily taking things seriously, right? You've got Bobby Lashley, Mister Stone Cold Face
Takes
there, not
everything. So yeah,
exactly not Stone Cold, but the Stone Face. So this is a learning, a teachable moment for them that could, at least I'm thinking this is what would happen. This is the way I'd book it anyway, is to turn them a little bit more serious hill, a little bit more serious, a little bit more serious, and this is that turning point right there because, like you say, they do get jobbed out like this, you know, so a little discipline,
yeah. I would still like to have seen them go over in this
right?
scenario, but we'll see if there's how serious WWE is about this trio. I think it has possibilities. I like it as the Hurt Business was a great gimmick.
Yes, it was.
Maybe we need to call it something different just because that one
Yes, we
didn't
do.
end so well.
Yes,
So, but I do think that the potential with the three guys there are great. Also great with three individuals that I thought would maybe mesh a little better than they did. Um, Up to this point, I guess we haven't talked a whole lot about the qualities of these matches. Everything to this point, in my mind, Doug, was fine. Nothing was
yeah,
blowing you away.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Same goes for this one. I thought as soon as I saw this match, EO, the champion, defending against Charlotte and Asuka, I thought this is where it'll pick up and it'll be really good. And it wasn't bad, but it was sloppy at times and still just kind of fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't bad. What again, there was nothing about this entire show that was overly offensive. It was just a show.
Probably should point out too that they in a bit of good scripting right before the women's match is
Yes.
when we saw the first official WWE appearance of Jade Cargill, and with none other than Triple H himself greeting her at the car. And I thought that was very smart, very well done. So that was pretty cool. But they started this one with a missed attack on Charlotte right at the get go. Uh, One other thing though that very shortly into the match that kind of took me out for a minute was they had a double suplex spot. And I know that sometimes we get these mics a little too close, but you could clearly hear ready, ready, and then followed by go, go, go. So that
Somebody,
disbelief we're supposed to have.
hey, somebody was just psyching themselves up, dude. That's all that was. Like, ready? You ready? That's I don't know what you think that was, but they were just psyching themselves up to pull that off.
We've talked on this show before that as impressive as it is that she can do it, that she maybe shouldn't do it because rarely does she hit it in a way that looks believable. But once again, Charlotte Flair with a moonsault from the top rope to the outside barely grazes her opponents. And this came after a flat out miss on a springboard moonsault from the rope to the outside by Io Sky.
She looks so good doing it, but then she doesn't connect, and then it just rolls through and pops up. And I'm like, that whole sequence looked awesome, but you connected with nothing.
Nothing.
But it
Nothing. And
looked, I mean, it's so fluid though. It
she
looked
even
so
got
good.
more of her opponents this time than Io did on the moonsault attempt just like minutes before that,
Yeah.
which was a flat out swing and a miss. What looked a whole lot better was that Tower of Doom spot where Sky ended up in a sort of a super Samoan drop, being
Yes.
the top part of that tower. That looked great. Asuka's flying code breaker is another that was kind of more miss than hit. It just
It,
was.
and
They were
kudos to
off.
the announcers do such a good job of calling it now too, instead of
Yeah,
just trying to sell
trying
it
to
like,
be dumb.
yeah, it's like, oh, that really connected. Oh, I don't think she got as that much of that as she wanted to. you
Yeah,
know
yeah, it's better to try to call out the fact that in an actual fight you're going to get some hits, you're going to get some misses, rather than pretending something that we all
Yes.
clearly see as a miss actually devastated, even if the other person's selling it,
Hmm.
which never looks great. But yeah, this was a
Yeah.
little sloppy. Bailey got involved, which allowed EO to get the win. I guess most I can say for this is that I am happy that in an off month pay-per-view that obviously doesn't have a lot of thought behind it, they didn't try to just do another title switch like they did with the tag belts. That
Yes.
they were going to end EO's experiment before it really has a chance to pick up any momentum. So at least they let the champ retain, which I'm happy about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the right woman won, even though you see Charlotte in a triple threat, and you're like, okay, well, there's your winner.
Yeah. Yeah. Glad they showed some restraint.
Yeah.
Obviously, the way this is going is going to be a one-on-one with Charlotte, and who knows what they'll decide at that point. But I love me some EO Sky. Not that I don't like Charlotte.
Hmm.
EO's a fresher face to this title and is an incredible worker, especially when she's on those ropes. She really is the genius of the skies. And so
Yes.
hopefully they have a less clunky one-on-one match, maybe at Survivor Series.
Sure.
This next match, Doug, probably would have been your main event on like your like local town's house show, the feel good, no real story behind it, but
Yes.
everybody does their job
That's
kind of thing.
that's what this was. And because I was thinking this is the feel good. Everybody does their story. Everybody does their job. You know how this show ends. You know how this story ends before you even out of like the first page of the book. You know how this is ending. But it's just kind of going along for the ride. I've said a thousand times before, I don't mind spoilers. I wanted to see how you get there, most of the time for the logical endings. And this was just a lot of fun. It
It
happened.
was fun.
It happened exactly the way it should have. And again, another bloodline kind of thing where there's a story advance, but it's not really story advancing for like typical bloodline reasons. You're just really putting over somebody who got themselves over, so it's almost a reward for him at this point to get
And
to.
boy, over he was.
Oh my goodness,
LA
so
Knight,
over.
John Cena versus the Bloodline. As Doug said, your faces win as everyone expected. Speculation, Doug, and we added to this
Yeah,
because we were just spitballing 2 weeks ago when they did not have a card.
right.
There was serious thought that LA Knight was not going to be ready for this show, and they were teasing who's John Cena's partner going to be. Obviously, it was not The Rock, which would have been made this way less of a throwaway pay-per-view. But on the other hand, it would have deprived LA Knight from this moment. And obviously, this is working with Peacemaker is a reward.
Working with Peacemaker, yes, it is.
And let's just be honest about it. Like they could have played it the real straight way to play this is LA Knight gets the rub from John Cena by letting Superman John Cena play the Superman role. They did the opposite in this. And you want to talk about a really giving. Now you can talk, people can talk smack about Cena all they want. I've certainly done so in the past, but you want to talk about a guy who did not need to do what he did last night and did it anyway and seemed to be enjoying setting up the hot new baby face.
Yes.
That was great of him.
I mean, it was great storytelling because Cena, man,
he gets this business, man.
He really, really does. Just getting worked over as much. I think it was Corey Graves that even said it before it even happened, or maybe it was Pat McAfee, because of course they bring McAfee out and give him a good 20 minutes of airtime for no real reason. or actually, I think there was some sort of sports ball reason for it because he had some sort of unique belt. I didn't get it, but whatever. Go sports ball. But talking about when LA Knight does get that tag, he's going to blow the roof off the place. I'm like, okay, that's my line. I'm going to say that. That's where I turn to Kevin and say, when he gets the tag, the roof is going off this place.
When I said it was like the old school, like house show main event where you have the guys not teaming again, it's you're waiting and like the if it's Tommy Wildfire Rich or whoever is getting the snot beat out of him, and you're just waiting for that tag to Dusty Rhodes, and then the crowd goes crazy.
Yeah.
And by the time they teased the long beatdown and LA Knight got the tag, it was 1980s wrestling again.
Absolutely.
People don't react to hot tags hardly at all anymore. The audience is so jaded now. They did last night, which shows that you don't have to have a 5-star technical classic to have a fun wrestling match. The old psychology tricks still work when you do them right. And last night, the faces, they were just eating right out of, they were eating right out of the faces' hands. That crowd reacted exactly to every little thing they did.
Absolutely. This it was just so good. And of course, I say it's not really a traditional bloodline story because it doesn't really affect the bloodline, but it does too, because we got we have, Uso issues, and Heyman,
Uso issue.
Heyman on the phone with, Chief Us, I guess.
All right. So maybe that's my biggest complaint about the match. I think the thing that you said this match went exactly the way we thought it was going to go, which is true up
Yeah.
until the point I realized that Paul
So
Heyman's doing play by play. Apparently, our tribal chief cannot afford Peacock. What's up with that? He's not watching. He's actually listening to Paul Heyman explaining to him what is going on because apparently Roman Reigns is too cheap for Peacock.
That had not occurred to me. Yeah, maybe he thinks I don't need it because I'm going to be there. But now he's realized with a reduced schedule, maybe
he's never there.
Maybe I should look into Peacock because I'm never there anymore. So.
Yeah, he probably didn't think he needed it because he was usually on the show. But yeah,
and he's waiting for some sort of good sale to come up where you can get a new membership for half price or something for the first year. So I mean, the tribal chief is smart, man. He's just not going to throw away money. I mean, if he can get paid, if you could get ringside play-by-play for free or pay for Peacock, ringside play-by-play from Paul Heyman calling you.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, man. Which one are you going to do?
Well, all right. In that case, I will not start the GoFundMe, the Two Bros Wrestling Show GoFundMe
for the tribal chief.
For the tribal chief. All right.
Okay.
Before we move on, though, I got to say, great athleticism in that finish to see LA Knight leap flat-footed. Who's old now? Exactly who backstage was that?
That's me. I'm old.
Point to somebody. Yeah, you couldn't stand up out of that chair.
No, I could not.
But I mean, that man went flat-footed from the ring to the top rope, and it looked so smooth. So kudos to him on that.
Just so great. Fluid with that leap, man. Good stuff.
And with that, Doug.
Yes,
we're to match number 5 in our
we are.
Pizza Hut pay-per-view.
The Pizza Hut pay-per-view. Nobody out pizzas the Hut, Kevin.
No one does. These guys sure worked awfully hard to try, though, because it was not the greatest of cards as far as work rate goes. So this was the match of the night. And honestly, they worked really hard to make it the match of the night. Obviously, we know what Seth Rollins can do. World Heavyweight Championship match, last man standing match. Shinsuke, this is a rematch from Payback. It's surprising to see Shinsuke at this stage of his WWE career in this spot, much less being in this spot twice. And I think that he had something to prove because he worked like the old Shinsuke, and the announcers did a whole lot to sell the fact that where's this Shinsuke been for the last few years? They know that booking wise, it doesn't make sense for him to be in the world title picture for a couple of pay-per-views. So they're trying to sell us hard on it. I hope this doesn't mean he has to return just to the mid card and not being taken seriously, because even at his age, Shinsuke still's got gas in the tank, and he showed it last night.
He absolutely did. I didn't have a lot of expectations for this. I like the rest of this pay-per-view. I expected this to be a passable, main event, last man standing, and then they set a table very early on that, Damian Priest is not coming back out, especially when Mommy laid the law down early on and said, no, you're not doing this.
He was determined to do it.
Yeah. I'm like,
which is, last man standing is the perfect opportunity for a kid, right? Because this means somebody is going to be beat down to the point they can't even stand up. That would be the perfect time.
Exactly. So you had to do that table setting early on to get that done. It's like, well, this is going to be interesting going into that, but it's going to be what it is. This is if you got 3 hours, watch this pay-per-view. If you don't, it's okay. Catch a highlights reel somewhere. But these dudes, I think they both had something to prove. Not that Rollins has anything to prove, but we've talked before about how Shinsuke is not the Shinsuke we knew. Even the NXT Shinsuke, which was amazing. Main roster Shinsuke never really been what we've thought he could be.
This was an element of it last night.
We got a pretty good showing. I mean, I hate that it had to be in I don't want to call this a garbage match, but when you get to these last man standing things, you don't get full on John Moxley, pizza cutters and forks and stuff in the foreheads, but you're getting people going through things they shouldn't normally go through and falling off things they shouldn't fall off of, unless you're just really clumsy like me and you're trying to change a light or something.
I will say that Seth fall from the stands. Probably should have been filmed from a different angle, because from the angle that they shot it, it was pretty much exposed that that's not really that far. It did not fall
Yeah,
very
yeah.
far onto something that looked very soft. But that aside, there were some spots that looked really good. That I think that up at least until the very end, the whole spot of the night might have been Shinsuke's double knees from the top rope to the outside through the table, which he almost overshot. But because
Mhm.
of that, the element of risk and danger looked really great.
Yeah.
Um, but then that Falcon Arrow at the end was definitely the spot of the night, because it just looked fantastic.
It
It looked
looks
fantastic.
so fantastic. So good. So good. And, I watched the end a couple of times because I love how they're both just working, the crowd staggering around, and then Shinsuke's up, and then it's almost like you realize, oh, I need to go back down. He's at 9. I need to fall over or something. But it just it's funny, but it looks also so natural too. It was just good. It was a fun way to end the night. Rollins in the crowd. Again,
Yeah.
Rollins could not be out there in that crowd with a cash in either. So, they'd already kind of telegraphs the ending too. It's like, we're gonna have it out in the middle of the crowd. We can't do
And
you know,
no one, I mean, I can't imagine too many of us, no matter how much we appreciate the legacy of Shinsuke Nakamura, I don't think any of us thought that Shinsuke Nakamura was walking out with the title. I think some of us probably thought that Damian Priest might be,
yeah,
but Shinsuke definitely deserves better than to be sent back to the mid card after the performance he put on last night. Obviously, Seth Rollins can make anyone look good, but it takes two to tango. I'll
hmm
say before wrapping it up here is that it started out a little methodical, as a lot of last
it
man
did.
standing matches
It
do,
really did.
but by the end, when it got to that miss spot on the ladder at the top of the ladder, which was a great looking miss spot, because by the time that Rollins fell through the table, announce table, his face is entirely in red and it's
See,
dripping out of Shinsuke's mouth. The visuals were fantastic. The crowd was giving it a "This is awesome" chant, which was very well earned after what could have been for pay-per-view prices to be sitting there. The crowd could have been totally out of it by the end, just because there wasn't a whole lot consequential going on. And these two worked hard to get him back into the show.
They really did. And using the mist, a great gimmick with a last man standing, nobody blades, but you have especially Rollins that looks like has a crimson mask from somewhere, and then Shinsuke, it looks like he's kind of been busted open in the mouth where he's got the red mist still there. It was a very creative way, I thought, to look busted open without being busted open.
Yeah. So if you don't have the 3 hours, fans, and you have, say, an hour and 15 minutes, watch the opening contest, watch the ending contest, everything in between, you just heard about. No need to go see it.
Yeah.
With
Boom.
that, Doug,
Big
let's
finish.
talk some big finishes. All right.
Let's do it. Let's do it because I've been chewing on these big finishes, all day, trying to think how I want to organize this and what I want to say about what because I'm very theme oriented when we do
You
these
are.
pay-per-view follow-ups and reviews, but I got to deviate just a little bit from my normal script tonight.
Well, we have had 3 pay-per-views since we last were on air, and I'm going to draw from all 3 for mine.
Perfect.
So, botch of the week, Doug.
So
If you're fine to start there, let's start like we usually do
I'm
with
totally
botch.
fine there, because Papa Con is moving the premium events to Max, and I hope Max has better audio quality and better production values than the Ted Turner system. Because what is this nonsense? I mean, and beyond that, can they not get a schedule right? I mean, there have been so many scheduling issues with when the AEW shows are going to be on, and you have this nonsense from Wednesday night. I don't know what I was watching. I thought my stream was screwed up somehow. And then find out that there are folks watching that get things cut off. I mean it was just very I mean clearly this was a botch and come on.
So, exactly what I was going to call out. Same thing. And it's not just limited to what happened this Wednesday night.
Right.
It's been kind of here lately, just the AEW production has been sloppy lately. And
Yeah.
I know you can miss WWE is not perfect and they miss their shots sometimes and things as well. But, from missed action in the ring to, did you see the Antonio Inoki tribute on Wrestle Dream?
Yeah.
Okay, so Tony Khan goes out and decides I'm going to go out at the beginning of the pre-show, which of course we're in Seattle, which means to make it 8 o'clock West Coast time, 7 o'clock for pre-show. It's 4 in the afternoon there. So first of all, you have the visual of no one there behind Tony Khan, and then while paying tribute to Antonio Inoki, he knocks over the photo of Tonio Inoki. A few weeks back, I think it was Dynamite. Did you see, Doug, where I can't remember who the promo was, but they accidentally had like the clapboard in the shot?
I missed that.
Clapboard in the shot, and then you hear action, and then that's when Lexi Nair starts, interviewing whoever.
That's some real BTE stuff right there.
Yes,
Was Brandon Cutler running that segment?
He might be running the whole show right now. Because like you said, the whole thing this past week on Dynamite, where you have to run an entire vignette twice in order for fans to hear it. So, just tighten it up, Tony.
I just see some comedy bit now with Cutler and Colt Cabana in like the truck pushing buttons to try and make things work.
It has been noticeably sloppy lately, so we got to do something about that. And last night I was watching Collision. I don't had these notes, but yeah, last night I was watching Collision. And I have some speakers behind me and some surround sound. And at first I thought I had people in my yard, but I realized that I'm hearing like time cues that must like somebody in the headsets must have been coming across on the feed, because I'm hearing like just 5-10 minutes. Those kind of things. I'm like, where's that coming from? Realizing it's coming from only the rear speakers, but it's coming from the broadcast. Like just way too many of these sloppy production errors. Definitely, if you want that big contract money that we think is going to any week now, we're going to be announcing that hopefully some of that investment goes into the production, because they've gotten really loose lately.
Come on.
Doug, your performance of the week.
Man, performance of the week. You know what? This man needs no shout outs or anything, but I've got to say, because I'll get back to Fastlane now. I loved how LA Knight worked the crowd, how the roof blew off the place, how this man consistently goes out and proves why he should be a star. He is not, WWE did not make him a star. He made himself a star in WWE, and consistently day in and day out, every time he is given an opportunity, he knocks it out of the park. And this was no different. I mean, he is in there with the man, 16 time, is that right? Seen as a 16-time champion, who did, like you say, he didn't have to do what he did, but he did it for LA Knight, recognizing what this man has. So I'm performance LA Knight, man.
LA Knight.
Performance, all of it. LA Knight tonight, man.
No
LA
argument
Knight.
for me on LA Knight. I'm going to go on a soapbox and go a little bit broader for my performance of the week.
Knock it out, man.
My performance of the week, NXT. Yes, No Mercy, the pay-per-view we did not preview, the pay-per-view we did not review, was better than both Fastlane and Wrestle Dream. I will say it again. It was better than both the big two. Not that the Fastlane Wrestle Dream didn't have their moments, but Fastlane was 5 thrown together matches stretched out. Wrestle Dream had some amazing content, but literally it was 14 matches if you include the pre-show, 4.5 hours if you include the pre-show.
Okay.
Fair 5 hours.
Yeah.
And so you had a tight 245, and every match on the No Mercy card delivered and was better than the one became before. This one was the best pay-per-view NXT has done in this era, and it would rival anything from the Black and Gold era. They had 2 legit match of the year candidates happen back to back.
Nice.
The 2 ending matches both got standing ovations from the crowd. Both of those standing ovations were deserved. And then, as a sort of a side call out to why NXT is killing the game right now, on Tuesday, I know earlier in our news segment we mentioned that they were up 35% in the ratings. But what I didn't mention about that show, and what I didn't even realize about that show until I saw a story pointing it out, is how historic a show it was. Without them drawing attention to it, which actually makes it even cooler. But there were as many women's matches on NXT on Tuesday night as there were men matches. And if you talk about promos and in-ring time, the women had way more time than the men. When was the last time on a main roster show, any co-ed roster you can name of television, has WWE, AEW, any of them had that kind of balance between the men and the women? And then the ratings pop off the charts for it. So kudos to NXT.
And here's where we go a little bit George Lucas, and bring it back around to the beginning. We'll start this at the beginning. We'll do it at the end too to make it all rhyme. But it goes back to what Jade Cargill is talking about too. Maybe this is a chance to get it right, because that women's roster, as stacked it is as it is in AEW, has never got the love that it should be getting.
And it can be argued that NXT's women's roster is more stacked than the main roster women's roster of WWE. So the NXT women were given a huge chance to shine, and they, guess what? Awesome. You get the opportunity, you do it. And so between that, go watch No Mercy, everyone. If you didn't see it, it was absolutely phenomenal.
Good to know.
Doug, match of the week.
I'm still going with LA Knight, man. Because I could call it. We could talk about that main event we had where those dudes really turned it on, put themselves through some ugly looking spots, but LA Knight, for me, it just popped. It just felt good. It should have ended the show right there. I know we had like a world title thing, but you're right. That is very much a house show, feel good, go home. But it was just, it's things like that.
Felt good.
Exactly. It made me feel like a kid again,
It did what it was supposed to do.
Like at that like Civic Center in Madison, West Virginia, seeing, Pistol Pez Watley, take the pin from, Mike Doggendorf or something, it just made me feel good, dude. I was a kid again for a little while when I watched that.
I struggle with this match of the week because, you go back 7 days and it's Daniel Bryan and Zack Sabre Jr. We thought they put on a clinic. Surprise, surprise, they put on a clinic. And I mean, unbelievable match. But I will say, I would be remiss to not call out the night before. If you go back 8 days, there's competition because Ilya Dragunov, Carmelo Hayes 2 was better than 1, and 1 was already a match of the year contender. 2 was even better. And then who in the world would want to follow that? Why wasn't that your main event? And yet Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton in a hardcore match followed that with their own standing ovation. Was it as good? It's hard to say. It's 2 different flavors of matches, but 3 different when you throw in Daniel Bryan and Zack Sabre Jr., but definitely last weekend had 3 matches that people will still be talking about when they start compiling their end of the year list. That's how good all 3 of these matches were. 2 of them happening on the same card in succession without killing the crowd. So lots of great wrestling. Doug, you are right. It is a great time to be a wrestling fan.
It really, and just a side note, because I had toyed with this. It is a great time, and I thought this might be a little tone deaf with all the drops and releases recently. But I'll say this: it is a great time to be a employed wrestler looking to better yourself, because Adam Copeland could not get what he wanted after a very storied career at one organization. Able to find it somewhere else. The same thing with Jade Cargill. Could not get what she wanted at the beginning of her career, but can get it over here. Kudos to both of them and everybody else who knows their worth, knows what they still want and want to do, and is going out there and doing the things that make them happy.
You know what makes me happy, Doug?
Wrestling.
Me too. Wrestling makes me happy. You see our schedule there. Next week, I'm super happy and excited about this show. We are in the midst of Hispanic Heritage Month, and next week we are going to do an entire broadcast on the influence of Mexican and Hispanic and lucha libre. We're going to get into it all. I worked a bit on it this weekend, some of my notes, and the more I'm doing my research, the more excited I get for this topic. That is one of many things coming up throughout the rest here of October that we have on tap for you, that we hope that you join us, whether you're watching on demand or you're watching us live here on Facebook or you're watching us on YouTube. Just like, comment, let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. We appreciate you. Thank you all for watching. Good night, everybody.
See you next